Hey everyone, welcome to the Dex, where we cover trivia and battle strategy for a different Pokemon each week. I'm PokeKellz.
And I'm Engineer Alex. Boy, I gotta say today I'm pretty darn psyched that Pokemon exists in a fantasy world.
What? You take that back.
What? No, it's just today's Pokemon would be way too crazy to keep around. He's like a super destructive and pretty creepy robot.
Yeah, okay, I guess you're right. But you're on thin ice, mister. Pokemon being real is my dream.
Isn't there something about a dimensional portal?
What?
Ah, it's Magnezone! Magnezone is a sort of bizarre, saucer-like evolution of Magneton and Magnemite added in Gen 4. It's like a weird floating UFO Cyclops.
Yeah, and he's called the Magnet Area Pokemon, which is a pretty weird species name. I guess it's a reference to like magnet and zone. He makes a magnet zone, a Magnezone. I don't know.
Funny you should say that though, because that's sort of his origin too. Apparently, Magnezone's an unnatural evolution of Magneton that occurs when it's exposed to high-powered electromagnetic fields. It literally alters his molecular structure.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it's super ethical, but apparently a bunch of scientists tried to use synthetic electromagnetic fields to evolve him even further, but the experiment ended in a failure.
Yikes. Ethics. But maybe it was just to improve upon a flawed specimen. See, the reason I wouldn't want a real Magnezone around is because his altered magnetic field renders him extremely magnetic.
Yeah, they attract everything. Silverware, coins, even other Magnezones. According to the Pokedex, they sometimes get stuck in huge groups and can't move. How do they get out of situations like that? Like in the wild? They're just all, how would they get out of that situation? Actually.
Yeah, and forget about owning any electronics. He destroys them simply by existing. I can't even imagine what happens when he goes to the Pokemon Center.
Okay, well, fine. Maybe you convinced me. Owning a Magnezone in real life would be super inconvenient.
See?
But since we don't have to deal with that, let's do a cool segment, shall we?
Yeah, let's nail it.
This one's all about physics. I call it Let's Get Physical.
Physical.
So, Magnezone seems to be the product of a physical interaction called electromagnetic forming, in which magnetic metals are repeatedly pulsed with high-powered magnetic fields to change their shape.
Yeah, that's how a lot of our metal tubing and sheet metal are made. It's easier to form metal this way, and since you don't have to touch it, you can apply surface finishing before you even form it.
Magneton's molecular structure is fused by the high magnetism power in certain areas around the world, and it becomes a Magnezone with tons of magnetic energy inside. It's pretty awesome.
But why are scientists involved? Well, electromagnetism is so important to technology in the modern world that without it, we'd still be using gas stoves and playing games with sticks.
Yeah, to be honest, it's hard for me to wrap my head around because it's such a complicated subject, but it is so important to the way our whole world functions. Like the electromagnetic field of the Earth, guys. It saves us from getting burnt to a crisp by solar winds by just like pushing them away. What is it? How did it get there? Why? It's just beyond me.
Dang.
Electromagnetism is so cool. It almost makes up for Magnezone shutting down all my electronics.
Speaking of shutting down, let's learn how to shut down your opponents with some sweet Gen 6 Magnezone Strats.
Pokemon!
Shut them down. Magnezone has a massive special attack stat, and combined with his ability Magnet Pull, which keeps steel types from switching out, he can really be a big hand for sweepers with a weakness to steel. Grab a -1 and super train it in special attack with the rest split between HP and speed.
Magnezone's electric steel typing gets crushed by ground types, so give it Magnet Rise for 5 turns of ground type immunity, and ensure your first turn is ground free by giving him an air balloon to hold. Just be careful what you switch into.
Once you have a steel type in your clutches, Hidden Power Fire is going to be your best friend. You'll knock out almost every steel type in about 2 hits.
It'll make your opponent think twice about sending in a steel type, and Flash Cannon and Thunderbolt are 2 great stab moves that'll threaten most other things they'll send in.
Of course, that's not the only way to train a Magnezone, so as always, here are a few random thoughts.
Magnezone's special attack is high enough that a speed-focused Choice Scarf set can cause some real damage, especially with Volt Switch.
And Choice Specs can push that special attack even further. Volt Switch Magnezone is a sight to behold.
Signal Beam and Tri-Attack also shouldn't be sneezed at. Both can be devastating as they're fairly unexpected on a Magnezone.
And that's it, Magnezone. He might be a weird robot that's hard to live with, but at least he's an interesting weird robot that's hard to live with.
And speaking of weird robots that are hard to live with, this week's episode is brought to you by House of Robots, a fun new book series by James Patterson about a boy who lives with some less than helpful robot companions.
Click on the link in the description to check out the accompanying web series on the Fred channel, and don't forget to subscribe to us either. I'm Engineer Alex.
And I'm PokeKellz. Tune in next week for another scary episode of
The Dex.